Once you find yourself in conflict with a narcissist, it's a virtual guarantee they're going to start playing head games with you. That's why I put together a new course. It's very extensive called Anger Games. I'm going to teach you how to manage anger and conflict with a narcissist. There's a link below that's going to show you how to register, and I hope that you find it to be very insightful. Let's begin with a very simple question that you probably know the answer to right off the bat, and that is, do narcissists have anger issues? Well, that's kind of like asking, do trees have leaves? Yes. Along with the whole pattern of narcissism comes anger. I mean, when your life is built upon having to have your way, raw selfishness and needing to control other individuals, having an attitude of superiority and entitlement, being extremely defensive and hiding behind a false self and not wanting others to bring that false mask off of you, having a sense of what we call alternate reality. When you have all those kind of ingredients, it's only going to be a natural byproduct to say, yeah, and you're going to have a lot of anger because not everybody in that narcissist world is going to think that's a great idea. And so when narcissists go into their anger, they're bringing all of this pathology with them. And part of your task as you engage with them is to try to figure out what are you going to do with their anger. Now, many of you know that I have a deep history of anger management classes and seminars, and much of my counseling practice was built upon that. And frankly, the more I worked in that kind of realm, it became more and more obvious that individuals with strong anger issues are dealing also with their own hidden narcissism. And what I would do when I would talk with individuals about their anger, I'm not going to shame people for feeling angry. There are times when it's necessary. I mean, if somebody comes against you or is harsh or demeaning and all of that, it's reasonable to say, that frustrates me. That brings up agitation. But when you have anger, we can go into the direction of assertiveness. And assertive anger means that you're going to stand up for who you are and what your convictions and needs are, while at the same time maintaining a certain civility. Or you can go into the direction of aggression. And that's where the narcissists go because of their control and entitlement, etc. And then once we go into that direction of aggression, then you can break it down and you can say there's open aggression and then there's passive aggression. And I'm going to be talking with you specifically about the passive aggressive. But first, in general, I want you to think when a narcissist is angry and they're not using that assertiveness, but they're going into that space, what is it that they're wanting to accomplish? And actually, there's quite a few things that they're trying to accomplish. First, they want to intimidate you. They must be in the dominant position. They don't think of themselves as one equal to another. And so power and being overpowering is of utmost importance, and anger becomes a vehicle for that. Beyond that, they want you to regret being you. It's kind of like if you have different alternatives or interpretations or opinions or habits and priorities. It's like, you can't do that. And they want your conformity. And if you don't conform, then they're going to make you feel shame for just simply being distinct. In their anger, they want you to feel subordinate to them. Rather than saying, well, you're distinct and you're unique. No, if you're different, then that means you're beneath me, and I need to remind you of that. In their anger, they want to make you feel stupid. They want you to feel shame. They want you to feel bad about just being who you are. And basically, in their anger, they're wanting to change your mind. They're wanting you to think, well, I'm supposed to defer to this narcissistic person. And they're thinking, right, and if I have to crank up the anger, I'm very willing to do that to remind you that you need to defer to me and think like I do. Now, as narcissists, or any of us, frankly, go into our space of anger, choice comes into play. And by the way, so many times our choices are so driven by habits that we hardly are aware that we're making choices in the moment because we're so habituated. But at some level, narcissists realize, well, I've got to decide how I'm going to do this anger thing. And so when they go into their anger, then they can choose, well, am I going to become openly aggressive, or do I need to go in a different kind of way? Now, the overt narcissists, they tend to be the ones who, there's no mistake, they're just malignant and they're just harsh and very brash in their narcissism. They often will tend the open aggression. And that's the yelling and the shouting and the screaming and the arguing, etc. Many times, the covert narcissist, though, will go more into the passive-aggressive style. It's like, yeah, I'm going to aggress against you, but I'm going to do so in a way that allows me to be a little bit more sly. And at first, when I was thinking about putting this video together, or this discussion, I was thinking, well, actually, we need to look at this more from a covert narcissism standing. But at the same time, there are times when the overt narcissist will also go into the passive-aggressiveness. It's kind of like, well, if that works, then I'm willing to do that. And so many times, narcissists, rather than showing themselves too strongly to be overbearing and argumentative, will decide, that passive aggressive style of anger, it can be effective. It works in the sense that it can get me what I'm trying to accomplish, what I just mentioned a couple minutes ago. And then the appealing thing to the narcissist about passive aggressive anger is it allows them to continue their efforts to control and dominate with the least amount of vulnerability. That's what appeals to them most. Essentially, they want you to come unglued, and if they can do it in such a way where they can try to make themselves look a little bit more like the good guy or the innocent victim, then they're quite willing to do that. And so they, many times, narcissists will realize, there's a limit to how much I can rage, but if I can do these passive aggressive things, I think I can maintain that dominance I'm looking for. Now, there are different ways that passive aggressiveness can show up. And I break them down into categories. In no way am I going to be able to list all of it. In fact, I have courses and stuff like that will go deep into this. But one of the ways that people go into the passive aggressiveness is they'll use the silent treatment. They can decide, I'm just not going to talk with you. They refuse to engage. They'll give you no eye contact. They can be highly dismissive, like you're not even worth my time. And if you try to talk with them, they'll just look at you and just kind of walk away. I wonder how many times you've been on the receiving end of that. Keep in mind that when we say passive aggressive, there is an aggressive element to that. It's just not the loud variety. Or another way that they'll be passive aggressive is they can do some behind the back triangulation. And when we talk about triangulation, there's the narcissist, but then the narcissist is very willing to bring in a third party and then work that person against you. And so they can do the smear campaign behind your back, or they can let other individuals know, hey, look, I'm trying as hard as I can with this idiot over here, meaning you, but it's just not working. And they try to make themselves the victim and make you look bad, and that's their way of gaining a upper hand over you. Many times in their passive aggressiveness, they just become evasive and unavailable. They're physically not available. They will not be open to accountability. They lack open disclosure. They keep secrets. In their passive aggressiveness, they may move into what I would refer to as defiant individualism. If you're, whether it's at work or in a friendship, extended family, or inside your immediate home, you'd like to have a certain amount of coordination. But a passive aggressive narcissist may decide, well, you know what? I'm just going to do what I want to do separate from you. I know you want my company, but I'm not going to do it. And they may spend money selfishly. They may make plans separate from you that you might want to go along with, or they may hang out with people that you don't care for them to do. They can seek pleasure without including you. That's what I mean when I say defiant individualism. And then in addition, part of their passive aggressiveness is that they can just be in general sullen or sulky or in a bad mood, and they can just kind of roll their eyeballs at you, and they can make snarky comments behind the scenes, or one line put downs and complaints. And then when you say, hey, what's going on? They say nothing. You're just reading it the wrong way. And so they can sneer at you, etc. And so that's what I mean when I say narcissists will go into this passive form of aggression. But let's keep in mind, it is aggression. And when they go into this passive aggressive mode, it's still abuse, but it allows them to create discomfort in you with, like I say, the least amount of vulnerability to them. So As you see this and move forward, how are we going to manage this so that you don't get caught in the games that they're trying to play with you? Now, I've got 6 quick thoughts I want to give you. First, know what you're dealing with. They're game players. They're all about developing that dominance that I mentioned, and see it for what it is. They're gaslighting you. They want you to feel inadequate, and you'll need to ask, well, am I inadequate? What do I think about me? Recognize also, number 2, that narcissists are wishing to capitalize on your need to connect. That's why they do the passive stuff. Because it's like, well, if I withdraw my fine self from you, then you're going to feel uncomfortable. And so my withdrawal, my disconnect from you is going to make you feel uncomfortable. You know what? If they're going to disconnect, then you have other options, and you don't have to be desperate for their connection or even their understanding. Number 3, as you try to respond to their passive aggressiveness, whatever you do, do not plead your case, because that's exactly what they want. It's like, why are you doing this to me? Why are you acting this way? And they're thinking, oh, this is working because I'm making you feel inadequate. I like that. Don't go into that space. Instead, number 4, live into your own DRC. Remember, here on Team Healthy, DRC stands for dignity, respect, and civility. They want to diminish your sense of well-being, but what do you think? Are you a respectable person? Live into it and make that your life goal. And then number 5, as you respond to them, as part of your boundaries, choose how you're going to act towards the narcissist when they act unruly toward you. You don't have to get their permission, and you don't have to plead your case, but you can decide, I'm going to be decisive. Here's how I'm going to be. Here's how I'm going to conduct my life. These are the consequences I'll enact when necessary. And then number 6, frankly, look elsewhere for forms of affirmation. The narcissist doesn't have to be your centerpiece, and you can find other individuals who will say, well, I'd like to engage with you in a much healthier way. Your mindset as you see the narcissist who chooses to be passive aggressive because they think it works is to decide, you know what? I see you as being the game player that you are. You're a game player deluxe. When you aggress against me, that becomes my cue to say, I see that you're not a healthy person. I'm going to stand in my own resolve, and I'm going to be separate and distinct. Now, I hope that videos like this can give you some awareness of what you're dealing with. And if you've not already hit that subscribe button, I would encourage you to do so. I'm going to keep more coming to you. And if you go on our channel, you'll see the link for videos. There's so many videos on there. Go ahead and just kind of look through those, and I hope that you find them to be very helpful. As you think about things like this, it might be that you could use some therapy. You know that I'm a retired therapist, but obviously I believe heavily in that. And so we've been sponsored for years by the people at BetterHelp.com. There's a link below this video. You can go through that, answer a few questions, and then it'd be so helpful to get a therapist that says, let's talk. Let's figure out what you're dealing with. I want to know you, your backstory, and let's figure out how we can get you to a place where you're living into your best version of yourself. So please, as the need is there, get the assistance. Now, I mentioned that I have courses. The biggest one that I have right now is called Anger Games. It's about how not to get sucked into all of their anger. And so that's available. The courses have multiple videos, teaching videos with handouts and guided questions. We also have This Is Me about boundaries, free to be, ready, set, connect. All of that is on our website, and you can go and look those up, and I hope you find those to be very useful. Speaking of the website, we also have many articles, access to my podcast, my books, etc. So make yourself available to all of our resources. Now, keep in mind when I say narcissists tend to have anger issues in general, it's guided by choice. Sometimes they're openly aggressive, but then sometimes they decide, I choose the passive aggressive route because I think it works and I think it can make people squirm. I'm hoping you can be onto it and say, you know what, if that's where you are, knock yourself out. I'm going to be somewhere else. I'm not going to put myself in that position. And I'm hoping that as you learn to disconnect and have your own separate, distinct initiatives, it allows you to be in a place where that narcissist is not, and that would be, it would allow you to be in your place of peace.